Holy cannoli, Batman, it is hot. But what we're not gonna sweat is how we attack this hole. Too cheesy, or is it just Gouda enough? What is up, YouTube fam? We are back with episode 2 of Teebox Thoughts on a Tuesday. I am so incredibly encouraged by all of the positive comments on episode 1 and people saying, hey, I look forward to seeing you next Tuesday. It's one thing to goof around and record content for a camera, but it's another thing entirely to know that it may actually be helping people improve in their game. So from me, Robbie C, that rhymed. Unintentional. Thank you so much for the support. It is an honor to create content for each and every one of you. So if you're new to this series, here's what we're doing. I go through and I play one hole of disc golf every single Tuesday, and I'm sharing my thoughts on why I do or do not take certain options and lines while going through the hole. This week we come back to Birmingham at John LeMaster Civitan Park out in Trussville. So are you ready? Let's dive right in. Appreciate the send-off, future Robbie. We are here at hole 7 at John LeMaster Civitan course. Hole 7 is one of my favorites here on this course. Coming in at 288 feet, this downhill hole offers you so many options when it comes to getting to this basket. With OB on the right side of the hole with this sidewalk playing out of bounds, you do have to be careful to not throw it too far and go OB long or catch a rollaway on this hill and end up OB just as easily. We're gonna factor all of this in with our disc selection, so let's take a look at what we've got. I've got 5 discs, but there's really 3 molds. The first one you might recognize from episode 1. Nat's like, come on, I am just trying to see without you dive bombing into my eyeballs. This pure is my flip to flat putter that I can throw dead straight, but the line to use this disc is taking the hardest gap available, which is the straight down the center tunnel shot. 280 feet is also pushing the limit of this disc for me, which means I'm gonna have less control while trying to hit the hardest gap. That's causing me to step up to the bounty. I can throw this thing on a flip up line with a lot less power needed to get the disc to go the full 280 feet and send it right down the middle gap. The problem with the middle gap though is, once again, you have to hit a pretty hard gap. Hitting any of those trees could cause me to lose a ton of distance, even if it does give me the most direct path to the basket, which makes me want to look elsewhere. So bounties, you've been served. Leaving me with a felon on a forehand. This is a nice and controlled line that I can be looking at the gap the entire time, throw my forehand, and allow it to just simply drift down towards the basket. This can work out lots of times and is often the choice for so many players when they play this hole. But my struggle here is that a forehand felon is literally playing straight into the out of bounds. If you get a bad flare or you throw the disc a little too high and don't catch the hill, whoop, you're taking strokes and you have a very long look at getting your par save, when you could look at another option here, which is my favorite line to take on the hole. You may be saying, Robbie, you're out of disc, but that's because you're looking at this hole straight on. Let's take a little adjustment and move to the left side of the tee pad. This big daunting tree that seemed to be blocking off lots of the fairway, forcing you down the straight gap or the left side, actually gets out of the way when you think about using the front left corner of the tee box, thus giving me my actual option I'm going to use on this hole, a Lucid X EMAC Truth. The EMAC Truth is a fairly straight mold, but in the Lucid X plastic, it causes it to be a little more overstable. Not so overstable that it's just trying to fight to the ground, but just overstable enough that when I throw it flat or even on hyzer, it's just going to ride that angle the entire way and give me such a solid finish. You may be thinking, Robbie, if I tried to throw around that tree, then I would definitely pile drive one straight into the tree. And often people do that. By picking my angle, I can almost draw the disc back like an arrow on a bow, making sure that I know exactly what line I want to throw this on. The other trick here is that I'm going to let the disc do the work. I could make a pig or a slammer or an overstable putt and approach disc get all the way to the basket. What I'm gonna do is disc up to this slightly overstable mid-range and let the disc and the hill do all the work for me. So are you ready to see how it goes? Because I know I am. So one of the biggest reasons that I like this line is because even if you throw it poorly and you hit a tree, it still ends up working out and gives you a super easy approach to the green that you can see. It's really straightforward and you really don't ever have to worry about OB because you're playing so softly by disking up and picking the right disc for you. So I disc up to a mid-range, but for you on a 280-foot hole, you might be disking up to a fairway driver, and that's okay. The beauty of this hole is to truly find the line line that works for you and go with it. There are so many options that are out there on so many holes, and you have to be willing to step out there and make the hole work for you. Don't always have to bend to what the course wants you to do. Get creative. Let's try to put this in for a birdie. Definitely an easier birdie than we had on the first episode of this series. Thanks for joining me for this one. I'm gonna send it back to future Robbie to wrap things up. I wish I could say that birdies are always that easy to get, but that line, although simple, doesn't always put itself next to the basket or on an ace run. Leading us into this week's takeaway. You have to find the line that works for you and produces the best results most often. Lots of people I know love taking the left-hand gap. In fact, one person I know takes a Mako 3 and throws it on a right-hand backhand down that left gap, and he lets it slowly turn over into the basket, and he's grabbed multiple aces on that hole alone. That line sounds terrible for me to try to hit, but once again, you just have to find what works for you. So if there's a hole that you've been struggling with on your local course, why not head to it and try to find how many creative, crazy lines you can come up with, because maybe, just maybe, one of them is the exact line you need to start crushing that hole every single time. I want to say thank you so much for coming by, and I hope you have an absolutely incredible week. But for now, I'm gonna leave you with the birdie.